What's going on, guys? This is David back for another PM stream on everything for all you numbers junkies. We're going to be talking technicals and fundamentals today. That's what we do on the nightly David only solo. We don't have Rob, which means I get to talk more show. I'm excited to be here with you guys. Obviously, today was a huge day. We had the Bybit hack. We had, obviously, the new COVID thing. So a couple things we're going to go over today. We're going to take a look at the markets. We're going to go through the whole Bybit. We do have some news. Potential bearish setup for BTC. We'll go through the altcoin charts. We'll take a look at what Solana, how much money has been flowing out of that. We'll take a look at the RSI heat map. Try to maybe find some good entry points for some cryptocurrencies. And then we're also going to take a look at some of the biggest gainers as far as revenue and fees. So which layer one or layer two is having pretty good success with fees, meaning people are using their product. And then this neat little thing here, we tend to forget sometimes. If you would have bought Bitcoin just 1 year ago, today, you'd be sitting on an 85% profit. Not too shabby over a 12-month period. And just to kick us off, a update on the leaderboard for our crypto trading not tournament, but competition. We currently have Grib in first place with 34% ROI. Blue Heron Ale is at 11.4, and third place is B06 at 6.5%. Remember, guys, $100,000 in volume. That's 10 trades at 10x leverage of $500 a piece, or 20 trades, 10x at $250 a piece, or 5 trades, 500 at 20x leverage. And so you do have to hit. That's the only requirement for you to get paid. And so if this holds true and Grib hits that $100,000 volume, he or she will be receiving $300 airdropped into their spot wallet that they can withdraw absolutely strings free, right? No strings attached. So take a quick peek at the chat. I'm going to welcome you all. And if you're new here, again, my name is David. Make sure you guys are active in the chat. Make sure if you have any questions, anything you want me to take a look at, I'll be more than happy to do so. What's up, French Toaster? Lucio, Mario, Dusty, Ground Squirrel said 86K Bitcoin incoming. I do think we're actually, like I mentioned, the Bitcoin chart that I showed earlier, that is a setup for a move to the downside. I don't think it's going to go to 86. Now, of course, anything can happen. But yeah. Also, Poman, what's up, brother? Choices, habits, and attitude. Luck. Don't put your money on DEXs that's not located in America. It's Bybit. I mean, can we really blame Bybit, though? Can we really blame Bybit? I mean, now we know, right? Lazarus Group was behind it, which is the North Korean group. They've freaking hacked more exchanges than Sam Bankman-Fried. So I don't even know if we can, honestly, from everything I've seen and heard, for them to continue with normal withdrawals for customers after getting hit with $1.4 billion, I think it's pretty amazing. If they can bolster their security, they can prove it, and everything goes smooth from here on out, I think people are going to look at Bybit and say, damn, they went through a $1.4 billion hack and I was able to withdraw my money. I was able to still have my money there when I logged back in. The exchange didn't collapse. I think it can actually work in Bybit's favor. Also, Anime Lover said, love that you use so many indicators, different types of info. I like to keep things simple, man, but I also like to use multiple different things. And so I appreciate the comment, Anime Lover. Thank you so much. And then Jason, what's your favorite frozen pizza? Come on, bro. You know it's barbecue chicken pizza, baby. All right. Let's take a peek at the markets here. BTC 95,784. I really thought we were going to just get to that 100K level. I had that mapped out. But what we're seeing now, right? And you guys know my trading style. I like flags. I like flags. And what do we have set up here? We have a bear flag, right? And the downside move, right? The measured move to the downside would be 92,133, a little bit below, around $91,000. If it broke out from here, it will be 91,755. Now, again, this could completely get washed out. This could be erratic. It can be invalidated. Just one piece of news, but the only thing I'll tell you is we're heading into the weekend. Stock market is closed. We have that whole pandemic thing. The new COVID strain out of Wuhan again. People are having fears. I mean, you take a look at what the Dow Jones did today. Let's go to macro and let's take a look at the DJI. This thing was getting absolutely hammered. It was getting hammered, and it closed. This was a 1.69% daily candle, but this got all the way down to around 43.5 after it opened and gapped down. So really, from yesterday, 44, and I'll give this measure here. So this was a 1.72%, but we really lost, what was that, like 0.5% just right when it opened. And so there's uncertainty in the markets. But guess what happened the last time we saw a pandemic, right? Obviously, health-wise, stuff happens, right? But from an economic standpoint, that is really what fueled the rally. I mean, you just stay on the Dow Jones. If we stay on the Dow Jones and we go all the way to 2020, okay, look at what happened after this thing bottomed out in March. This thing bottomed out at $18,000, okay? Now, why am I sharing macro on a crypto show? Because macro and crypto are tied together. This was a 38% drop in a matter of a month. And guess what? It was literally up and to the right for the next 654 days. It was up and to the right, gaining around 102%. So the stock market doubled in price in a little over a year. And so then we chopped sideways and then we started grinding back up again. So, there's always silver linings to every situation. I believe the markets overreact to a lot of things, especially the stock market. Could we see this thing open up Monday? Maybe open on a gap and just fill it right away? Potentially. I think we'll have to see what news comes out of the weekend. But if you're a macro trader, I'm not going to get into any trade setups on this, but I'll be more than happy to do that on BTC. Let's get rid of that. You know what? Actually, one more thing I want to check on macro. Do I have the VIX on here? I do. Yeah, we saw a rise in the VIX as well. And so one thing, if you guys want to see, and not familiar, maybe you guys don't know what the VIX is. It measures the volatility. And anytime you see a spike in VIX, that means there's a lot of velocity in the market to the downside. And so in terms of low volatility, that's where you start seeing a lot of the breaks. And I will just go ahead and throw on let's throw on the SPX, S&P, not crypto, all SPX, new price scale. And you can see kind of the inverse correlation, right? You see that inverse correlation? We have the VIX. Shoots up around 67%, and we see a drawdown of around 12% from the S&P. This was back on where we saw this massive move. This was August of last year. I mean, the VIX got all the way up. I mean, Jesus Christ. Got all the way up to 66. And we saw the S&P 500 drop 23%. Now, guys, 23% on a $44 trillion index is absolutely huge. And if we zoom out and if we go to I want to show you what 2008 looked like, okay? So this was 2008. The VIX shot up to a 95, and I believe that was the highest ever. And prices absolutely, of course, tanked. So if you're ever wondering, what's the velocity look like? And this is on the monthly. What's the velocity of the downward price action look like? Is it going to be short-lived? Is it going to be long-lived? Are we getting screwed? Throw on a VIX chart and see what the VIX is doing. If this thing is kind of chopping sideways or it's red, that's good. If you see a big spike in the VIX, that is not a good sign. All right, now that I checked that out, let's go back to BTC. Now, what's the trade here on Bitcoin? I'm going to get rid of the SPX so we can take a look. Now, I want to zoom out to the weekly time frame on Bitcoin, right? You're seeing a lot of indecision in the market over the last 3 weeks, right? You've seen 1, 2, now 3 spinning tops / dojis. These two are going to be your spinning tops. And the last one, if it closes, exactly where it is at now will be a doji, but all three signify that there is indecision in the market between the bears and the bulls, right? You see large wicks to the upside, right? 2 weeks ago, the bears tried to push the price to 102.8. And the bulls tried to push the price to 102.8, and the bears came right in and pushed it all the way down to 92, and we closed at 96.395. The following week, same thing, but on a much smaller scale. And again, this week, lots of swings to the upside. We got as high as 99.481, and we got as low as 93.438. Now, this right here is a setup for a big move. Now, is a big move going to be to the upside, or is a big move going to be to the downside? You take a look at the chart on the 1 week, and again, it's always nice to zoom out, even if you go on the monthly. I mean, this is an up and to the right chart, right? This is going all the way back to 2017 of August. Outside of this double top, which I believe this second top should have been a lot higher. I think the second top should have gotten us to $100,000. Regardless, this is just a slow grind to the upside, right? And actually, if you look at that, we're starting to go vertical. And so if you're ever in the moment, and you see bad news or, oh my God, my portfolio's down, open up TradingView, go to the monthly chart, and you can see we are still up and things are still looking good for BTC. So zooming out to the daily, let's take a look. We are currently at this key level. We're not there, but this key level 92. I am interested in opening a long on BTC at 92. Now, this is on the higher time frame, and if we throw on the cloud, you can see currently the trend is actually red on the daily. The only trend we see that is currently green is going to be your weekly here. Every other time frame, the daily, the 12-hour, the 4-hour, the 1 hour, and the 30-minute, they are all bearish. But if you zoom out to the weekly, we still got a long way to go before this thing turns bearish, right? And that number, again, depending on where we come down, if it's over the next few weeks, you're looking at 60,500 until we flip bearish. If you go out another, let's say to the middle of May, you're looking at 76.7. Now, historically, remember, once Bitcoin makes a new all-time high, right, after an election, because election and halving cycles match up together, once we get that pump, we don't ever come back to pre-election prices. And historically, that's been proven true. But again, on the 1 hour, right? 1 hour, you can see this bear flag is tapping right into the lower end of our cloud. Now, this thing can grind up a little higher, right? And now, for me, when I look at a bull flag or a bear flag pattern, the way I figure out, okay, is this pattern invalidated, right? If you're past if you're past the 50 level on the fib, which is 92.24, this is an invalidated pattern. So we can still grind up to that 96.723, which is our 382 level, or that 97.240. Depending on what price does at that 97.24 level, maybe things change. Maybe we start seeing a spike in volume. Maybe we start seeing large order blocks. Maybe open interest starts to move to the upside. And let's take a look at where open interest is now. So currently open interest is still green for BTC. This is good. This is good on the 1 hour. And so I'm curious to see how price reacts. Now, if we see a rejection, I am willing to short this thing all the way down to $95,000. I think that'll be a really nice trade setup. But again, this is not something you can forecast. We know Bitcoin, news, stock market, what is going to happen, Bybit, and everything going on with China. So speaking of Bybit, someone posted this. They said, Vitalik posted this February 12th, about 9 days ago. Said, make communism great. And well, is it a surprise that, North Korea, communist country, dictator country, decided to hack Ethereum, not Ethereum, but Bybit, and steal Ethereum? And then I didn't have enough time to go through my normal steps of making sure this is correct. But it wouldn't surprise me. And let me know in the chat, is this thing on your screen you're seeing now, is this true or has this been debunked? But apparently, Vitalik announced that the ETH Foundation is going to vote tonight on a chain rollback or deleting the hackers' ETH supply from circulation. Let's make communism great again. That's funny. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Is that correct? Is that false? I genuinely, I want to believe it's true, but who knows? All right. Irish Red said, digging the depth. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Stan said, "Is Illuvium dead? I can't believe it used to be $2,000." You know what? Illuvium, and I'm going to talk to this as I pull up the chart on Illuvium. Illuvium was the first, everyone considered a AAA rated game, right? Everyone considered Illuvium a AAA rated game. The first in blockchain, everyone was excited about it. I had a few friends that were really into Illuvium. This is an Illuvium chart, by the way, on the 1 hour. Let's go to the daily. All right, let's start with the high time frame. Let's go to the weekly. And everyone was super excited about it. And I read somewhere that they're letting go of a lot of their team. And so are there financial struggles happening over at, I mean, this is an ugly chart, right? This is a pretty ugly chart. But then again, if I pulled up an ICP chart, yeah, like you mentioned, $1,953. If I pulled up an ICP chart, I'll just throw that thing side by side. We pull up an ICP chart and go to the weekly, you can say the same thing. And so context matters, right? I'm not going to get into the whole why ICP, right? Why this chart looks like the way it looks. And let's go to the weekly here on ICP and everything else. And if I kind of scale this thing down to where you see the top end of this move, right? Beep. That's what your ICP chart looks like, right? And here, that's what your Illuvium chart looks like. So you can look at both of these and say, oh, those are dead projects, right? We know ICP is not a dead project. Fairly sure that Illuvium is also not a dead project. But again, what's so much happening in the gaming sector, especially with off the grid, I think off the grid really blew the lid off of what is the potential of blockchain technology, cryptocurrency being integrated into an actual console level game. I mean, you look at something like Axie Infinity, where a cycle ago you were like, oh my God, gaming, I got to get an Axie. I can even throw Gala in there. You just look at it, you're like, well, off the grid, it runs on AVAX, and it's actually on console. Like, what are you going to say to that? What are you going to say to that? And so Illuvium, I mean, guys, I can't. I mean, we're at all-time lows, right? We're literally at all-time lows on Illuvium. So for me, this is not a project for me. Now, when we were writing the almanac, you'll notice if you have an almanac, when we wrote it, this was back in September, because we weren't sure the time frame of getting this thing published. This was one of the games that we felt could make a comeback, but obviously a lot has happened from September to February. You got 5 months there. And so I would not touch Illuvium. I mean, if you're holding some, depending on where you bought it, if you bought here at $158 back in March of 2024, I mean, do you kind of want to just cut your losses, take that 90% L and try to multiply that 10%? I don't know. So I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. But you never know, right? They might come out with a big announcement. Hey, we're integrating here. Or a new something comes out on the game. But, I mean, you can plot this thing really to anything, right? Illuvium, Bitcoin. And I already know what this chart's going to look like. But Illuvium, BTC, I mean, yeah. It's like inverted, right? This chart would look really good. But really, it had like 2 big runs against Bitcoin, and then everything has just been dead against Bitcoin. So to answer your question, I hope that does. I mean, if you're sitting on a 50% or less loss, personally, if that was me, I would cut my losses and try to recoup that 50%, hit a 2x, and you'll get back to even on the money you lost. But I pray to God you didn't, but if you bought at the top, if you bought here, somewhere around here between like over $1,000, just, I don't know, man. I don't think you can ever get back there. I hope I'm wrong for the sake of the people holding this thing, but I just think there's just the narrative has shifted so massively that that I don't see Illuvium making a comeback to 2K. Dips are a gift. I agree. I remember big moves. Bull run is fine, but now we have a quick sale. That's all. You know, Steven, I agree. I agree with you. The bull run is completely fine. And the quick sale, I agree. That's such a good point. You know, we kind of lose track of where we are in the market and kind of context of everything going around us. Rex said gaming is dead. Rex, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. I don't think gaming is dead. You're talking about an industry that is expected to get to around $800 billion by 2030. And you're talking about an industry that is also shifting towards blockchain and crypto, although slowly, but methodically. It's happening. Again, I think off the grid really was the Trojan horse. And so I disagree with you. I believe gaming is going to have a big run. It's going to be a big sector narrative for this bull market cycle. And AVAX and Ronin are at the top of my gaming list. I mean, Ronin consistently, okay? Consistently, Ronin has been leading in multiple metrics. So let me pull up a Ronin chart here. I'll kind of talk through this. So let's go Ronin versus Tether on Binance. Great. No, not this one. Run. USDT Tether. Here we go. All right. So this is your Ronin chart. Okay. Now, if any of you follow AIXBT, right, it posts, market updates, metrics, stats, whatnot. And Ronin consistently leads in factors and numbers such as transactions, daily active wallets, and I'm talking, of course, of gaming. And so for me, Ronin is a no-brainer. I think there is a discrepancy between the value, the fundamentals, and the technicals, right? And again, all across the board, and this one's actually on a larger time frame. You look at Ronin in this massive bear flag, right? This big bear flag for Ronin, and it looks like it's actually starting to break to the downside, okay? Starting to break downside. Now, the measured move for this one is not pretty. It's taking this thing down to 32 cents. Now, do I think it gets there? No. It's got tons of confluence on a lot of key support levels, like here, 92.1 cents. You got the 2-hour and the daily. You also look at the 2-hour at $1 even. Not only is that a psychological number, but it's also been a key support level. And if we just zoom out and you take a look at, well, what happened at this dollar level? And I'm going to get rid of these. I'm going to just drop a horizontal line here so we can see that dollar mark, right? So here's your dollar, okay? If we zoom all the way out, go back to January of 2023, we essentially came into this head and shoulders pattern, but on the way up, we got rejected twice. So this acted as resistance. We finally broke above, consolidated for a few days, and then came back up, broke above it. And the important thing here, for me personally, when I'm looking at charts, and I put an amount of weight on a support level, does it get a retest once it is broken? If it gets a retest and you see this, if it breaks out, retest, and you see this, to me, that is a very, very strong support level. And it could be any chart. And again, consolidation, breakdown, right? We had a little, rounded bottom here. It came back in, retest. So this dollar level was key. And again, on the second big run up for Ronin, right? This is back on November of 2023. We came back, we broke above, retest, spend a couple candles there, and then off to the races. And so for me, I'm a big Ronin bull. If you're a bull on gaming, I don't think Ronin is one you should be, shying away from. But again, I would wait to see how this pattern here breaks out. Now, I do expect, again, for it to find some support right at this dollar level. And then depending on what that does there, I mean, I just showed you 2 instances of what Ronin did at $1 once it broke, right? Let's just go ahead and measure those moves. Let's go ahead and measure and see exactly how high Ronin went up when it broke $1, okay? From the retest, 40%. This is going to be a big one here, right? From the retest, the initial move was 70%, but the continued move was a lot higher, right? The continued move was 350%. And so I'm a longer of Ronin at $1. Could it potentially not get there? Sure. I think, again, it depends on where the market is. And so, that's something I'd be looking at. But Ronin, as far as a cycle-to-cycle play, as far as a narrative play, charts aside, I think Ronin for me is a no-brainer. All right, let's take a look at the markets and what we're seeing as I take a quick swig of water. Damn it, I need another water. I have to call on the kids to grab me water. All right. I am thoroughly surprised. And tell me if you guys are too. The second largest exchange when it comes to spot volume was hacked for 1.4 billion and Bitcoin's at 96.3. ETH is at 2,700. It's interesting. Everyone panicked because, and rightfully so, ETH got hacked off of Bybit. And everyone's like, oh my God, there's going to be selling pressure, which there was. But I want to point to something. The Lazarus Group specifically, they are still sitting on cryptocurrencies that they hijacked from 3, 4, 5 years ago. So this is not just a, hey, let me get in there, steal the money and dump everything right away. Usually happens over a very long period of time. Now, on the flip side, guess what? Bybit now has to replenish those ETH reserves. So they have to go out and buy Ethereum. Now, I'm sure some of it will be OTC, but some of it potentially will be loans, right? We saw Binance. I think they said they got a loan from Binance. And so ETH, $2,700, not too bad after 1.4 billion was taken out of Bybit. XRP at $2.58, BNB at $650. I want to take a look back at, if you guys remember yesterday, I kind of shared a setup I had for BNB. It was where are you, BNB? Right here. It was a setup for a long on this high time frame bull flag. Okay, this actually is ending up being a bull pennant. Same thing, right? Same thing. Breaks to the upside. And I was looking to enter at like 635, right? The bottom end of this trend line. But after the Bybit thing happened in the morning, I canceled that limit order because I don't know what's going to happen. Is it more than one wallet that compromised? Is it an inside job? Now we know it's not an inside job. Now we also know that there is no other wallets as far as the information that's out there that have been hacked. And we know Bitcoin held up fairly well. The only concern I would have is that stupid COVID stuff coming out of China. And so, but this is a beautiful setup for a breakout to the upside, and that measured move would be right around $800. But if you want to play conservative, because again, I don't think we're in that absolute parabolic, we're 10xing in a week style part of the bull market yet, I'd be looking at just as high here, 696, right under $700. Okay. And so this is something I want to wait to see what happens over the weekend. If I can catch this thing below, if I can catch a long on BNB at 629.65, I would be extremely happy, and I would enter in probably like a 12 to 15x long position. Again, depending on some of the other things that are happening. If we throw this off, let's go to a little bit of a higher time frame. Let's get rid of that. Let's go a little bit of a higher time frame, right? I mean, higher highs, higher lows. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? Going all the way back to September of 23, we ended the year at $200, and it's just been high after high. We did come back down. We had this nasty spill off. This is the week of July 1st, where we got all the way on 485, but it's really just been, I mean, not a single deviation on a close to the downside. Okay. And let me get my trend line here. Outside of this move out, breaking below it, came back, retest, and failed. Nothing is real. I mean, BNB was just grinding higher and higher and higher and higher. And a lot of people point to Binance and say, well, they control the flow. Sure, you can point to that, but you can also point to the fact that there's not a lot of coins in circulation that people are buying and selling, right? And then one more thing I wanted to take a look at is this. Now, this is still, I mean, this is a very, very strong chart for BNB. And we zoom out to the daily again. We're currently in now here's the interesting thing, okay? We're seeing the Kumo cloud flipped green, which means we are in the beginning, at least, of an uptrend. But what we want to see is price trading above our cloud. Now, this cloud is very thin. Okay. Once the cloud expands, that means we're seeing a lot of volatility. And this is back looking. So this right here, where the cloud ends, goes back 26 days. So this candle, this set of candles represents this cloud here. And so a break above this cloud would put us at 681. If this remains, we'll take a look at what the RSI and the MACD show. But this would be a reversal right back into the bullish pattern, not a pattern, but a trend to the upside instead of trending down. And then Solana 171. I thought Solana would. Let's take a look at this. Okay, we'll get back to the Solana here in a second because you see Solana's number 5 on fees. And why is this important? Well, the more fees a blockchain collects, that means people are using them. If no one's using your layer 1 in your network, your fees are going to remain low, right? And you see Solana, although it is down 30% on the 30-day, it is still at $170 million. And if you remove stable coins, it is number 3 in blockchains, right? Blockchains or protocols that this has on there for fees. So number 1 outside of stables is going to be Tron at 256. That's a lot of damn fees for a project that's super, super cheap. And then so you have Solana in here, you have Uniswap in here. I am very, very interested. Uniswap, even with its token, was leveraging and using the Ethereum token as their gas fee, right? And so all that went to ETH. This is on the monthly. This is on the weekly. Ooh, we're at a key level here. Okay. We're at a very, very important level here. We need to close above this $8.84. We need to close above $8.84. We have about 2 days left in this weekly candle. If we break below, that would not be good. Let's take a look at where Uniswap. $6.84. And then let me see where the MA ribbons are. Yeah, we're trading below. Let's go to the daily and let's throw on the MA ribbons there. Yeah. So the Uniswap chart, as far as structure, is not looking bullish. But what I was going to say, before I got sidetracked by SR and timeframes, is their new Unichain, right? The Unichain will be leveraging the Uniswap token instead of the Ethereum token for gas fees. What does that mean? Actual use case and utility for the token outside of governance. So now you have multiple things. You have people earning fees, right? Uniswap holders getting a portion of the fees that Uniswap collects every time someone swaps in or out of a trade. Also, the token is now going to be leveraged for gas fees instead of Ethereum. And so this thing could make Uniswap, I mean, you look at market cap wise, it's sitting at Uniswap is sitting at number 27 with a market cap of $5.3 billion. Now, obviously, this is directly tied at the hip to Ethereum. So if Ethereum revenue and numbers drop, obviously, so will Uniswap. But Base, I think there was another L1. So Base and ETH, and I think there's one more that is tied into Uniswap on the DEX side. But I think this is going to be a big hit to Ethereum in the short term. We'll see how this thing plays out. But that Unichain, it's going to be very interesting. And then I was asked about Near Protocol the other day. Near Protocol was running really, really hot, right? It was running extremely hot, and then it was not, right? It was running hot, and it was not. This was one of my favorite plays going into the bull market. Now, I'm still bullish on Near. I'm just not adding anymore. I'm not. I mean, you saw a rally. This was back on October of 2023. We hit that low of $1, and we ran 750% when really everything was down. And, take a look at how this thing performed against BTC. Let's take a look at Near versus Bitcoin. Now, again, this is on the weekly. Really going back to 2021, right? Even through the bear market, Near was performing very well against BTC, right? It was performing very well against Bitcoin. And then it's just been down and to the right. We've had a few spikes here and there. But if I zoom into the daily, right? it's just, I mean, the whole premise of this is if you're going to take risk outside of Bitcoin, you want it to be worth your while. I mean, at least on the daily, we had a nice move, right? At 300% gain against BTC for near, what was that time frame? That time frame was for a little over half a year, about 7.5, 8 months, right? With some dips to the downside. And then since May of last year, I mean, you were better off in near than BTC, in Bitcoin than near. And this thing, I mean, this thing doesn't look like it's getting ready to reverse anytime soon. And so for me, these are some things I look at. Do I want to take the extra risk on an alt, or do I want to just stick my money in a Bitcoin and forget about it, not have to worry about a hack or the foundation selling or Satoshi's wallet coming to life, or so you just don't got to worry about it. But I love the team. I love the technology behind it. They fit the AI narrative. I don't know. The whole AI agent thing, if Near would have gotten in front of that when it was running hot, this thing would be at like 12, 15 bucks now, but it really didn't. You had the likes of Virtual Protocol, you had the likes of Solana, really everything on base. Those things ran, and Near kind of, they were late to the game, right? And then you had the whole incident with the boobs on, that was hilarious. All right. Also, make sure to say hello if you're new here. Just going to go through the chat here really quick. Good night, peeps. Good luck. Poman, see you later, brother. Vicky Odin says, is AI dead or will it pick up again soon? Is AI dead? AI is not dead. Outside of crypto, right? Think about this. Outside of crypto, would you argue that AI is growing or diminishing, right? In value, in growth, in resources, in people, engineers, I mean, you name it, infrastructure. Is it growing? Are people pouring more money and time into it, or is it actually winding down? And the answer to that is going to be the answer to your question. So no, do I believe some minute niches of the AI sector are not coming back? Sure, I do. We're an AI agent that, I don't know, has some dumb use case, then yeah. You want to talk about AI agents? I mean, there's 3 AI agents I can think of right now in a market I believe is big, but it's going to get bigger with blockchain, is gambling, sports betting. AI on 5100, D King, and Billy Bets. Billy Bets just launched on virtuals. I was actually looking at that chart. Let's go to Dex Tools and let's take a look at Billy. Okay. Now this is being pumped by, this thing ran a 9 million. My God. So I was looking at this thing this morning. It was at $6 million and it was running hot. I was not going to enter into it. And it's just, I mean, it takes a breather and then it runs again at $9 million. And so this is an AI agent on Virtual's protocol. Go down to the 1 hour. I think I was looking at the 1 hour. You know, and it could be so hard, and take it from someone who's been doing this for a long time. It could be so hard to be sold on a project, to be sold on the utility, be excited about it, and then to have the discipline to not enter into a position or open a new position when the chart is hot. More likely than not, you're going to be entering towards at least a lower time frame top, or a short-term top. Okay. Now this one, I could be up 50% now. Cool. It would have been great. I would have been extremely happy, but I didn't do so because I like to stay disciplined no matter what, especially if my emotions are tied to it. So when I started doing research on Billy, I was like, this is pretty dope. I got the virtuals team behind it. You know, my cousin sports bets for a living. So I have some insight into that sector. Plus I'm in Las Vegas. People literally will travel to Las Vegas to sit at the sports book during the Super Bowl to just do prop bets and win. And I understand that now sports betting and gambling is legal across more states, but to be able to program an AI agent, or not even program one, just find one that is efficient enough and to stick money into it and let it place bets, I think that's going to be of huge value going into the next big run up for AI. So DeFi, decentralized financial AI, big on that. I'm big on the gambling, which is why I mentioned on Twitter, which by the way, Patreon members, I did post a video for Patreon only. I did a complete walkthrough on how to stake your DTAO or TAO, the BitTensor token, to certain subnets. So step-by-step guide on exactly how to do it. And so right here, right, just stake to subnets 8 and 42. Subnet 8 has to do with sports betting, and 42, I did it because you can earn dual emissions in the Masa and in the BitTensor token. There was another subnet to look out for, and that is subnet number 6. I'll just go here. So this is BitTensor subnet stats. And you can see over the last week, subnet 8 is up 180%. But over the last 24 hours, really everything is down outside of a few subnets. But subnet 6 is infinite games. Now this thing has a decent volume, but it hasn't been performing well. But if again you're a believer in what these and like gaming and betting and all that, and you can go to this website too, subnetalpha.io or .ai, and you can go and you can see exactly what each subnet does. So this one is actually, so subnet 8 is proprietary trading. Subnet 6 is going to be your engine for LLMs and betting and sports betting. So you can see exactly what this does. Now this is the subnet that DKing and Aeon 5100 are leveraged on, is subnet number 6. And so I'm a huge bull on BitTensor. I remember when this thing came into the market and it got up to $700, okay? And don't kill me for this, but the first thing I thought about was, oh God, is this another ICP moment, right? Where market makers bring this thing in and they get absolutely screw retail, but it wasn't, right? Zoom out to the weekly. Now, obviously we've had a drawdown, right? Ran up to around $1,200 and we drew down. We actually came in and broke that high. Ended up being, I mean, like just looking back at this thing, right? On a high time frame, this was like the perfect cup and handle pattern. Now the move didn't take it all the way to the measured move, because the measured move would have been, and just for simplicity's sake, rarely ever do they complete the entirety of the measured move, but the measured move would have been to around $883. We got up to $742. So not too far off. And then we've kind of been grinding down, but guys, this is a perfect setup. I mean, I think Tao's going straight to $600, dude. I really do. Now, when I say straight to 600, relatively speaking, not saying it's going to not meet any support or resistance, but this thing, I mean, beautiful structure, right? Just, what is this? December 24th to February. So at 2 months of lower lows and lower highs, we got the breakout, but we haven't gotten a retest. Well, sometimes it doesn't. You don't get the retest, which is also okay. But I like to stay disciplined and wait for a retest. There's oftentimes you'll miss a trade because you wait for the retest. But also, if you don't wait for the retest, there's oftentimes you will also lose money because you didn't wait for the retest. You can obviously see that $500 level here, that 2 hour and the 1 day. You're seeing some confluence there on the resistance side. You can take a look back at that level again. This was a key pivotal level. As you can see, if you just go back to November of last year, BitTensor kind of came out of a bull flag pattern, and that is exactly where they found support right here, right? You came into this bull flag pattern, and then you broke out to that $626 level. That was the last time it got to $500. Afterwards, we saw the spill off, came back below, right? And we came and we started grinding higher, kind of broke through, came back and retested on the wick, and it was off to the races. Now on the way down, we broke below, failed to retest again, and eventually broke through, fell through, and then you have had multiple retests on wicks. Eventually, think of it this way, right? You got the SWAT team with that big ass freaking cylinder thing. 1, 2, 3. Eventually, they do it 20, 50, 100 times. That door is going to give way and they're going to break in. Same idea. You knock on that ceiling of that resistance level, and eventually you're going to break through, and it's going to be a big move to the upside. Now, if you are looking at a long position for BitTensor, we're kind of in no man's land now. Let's go zoom out to the 1 hour and see what the 1 hour is telling us. We're seeing a bear flag on the 1 hour, which could break to the downside and bring us down. I'm going to wait for these SNR levels to pop up here. You take a look. The medium to higher time frames are bullish. The lower time frames and the weekly is actually bearish. So you can see here on the SNRs, there's really not big support until you get to 346. If we go and we put on our price action concepts, we filled this gap between 431 and 440 on the way up. We have filled that gap to the downside, and we came right back and kind of recapture that. So where am I expecting? Well, the first level is going to be your equilibrium zone, which is between 416 and 423. If we break below that, I would expect us to catch support right around this big order block where 22% of all Tau tokens were traded with buy orders, so bids outpacing the asks. And you throw on the VRVP, right? Your volume range profile. You can see here at that order block, right between that order block and the equilibrium zone, you saw a lot of volume coming in. So a lot of traders are interested in this zone. So if we do see a breakdown from this bear flag pattern, I would expect to catch support either here, maybe consolidate and go to the upside, or maybe fall all the way down and do the same thing. Or we can see something like a V-shaped recovery and break back and try to retest that 475 on the way to 500 bucks. But for me, trading and swing trading and scalping aside, I am a massive bull on BitTensor. I really am. The way that the emissions are set up, 21 million tokens, only 8 million circulating. You're looking at something that is rewarding subnets now with DTAL. It is rewarding people who are creating these LLMs for not for quantity, but for quality. That's the important thing to know. Not for quantity, but for quality. Kind of went off on a tangent there on Tau, but I just, what's the boob incident? You haven't seen the boob incident? I'm not going to show it, but so the near team, it looked like maybe like an intern or something. They were doing like a slideshow presentation, and this guy was opening a file on his computer, and he opened up, I think it was the downloads or the pictures. And you know how the pictures have like thumbnails where you can see what it is? There was 2 pictures of just tiggle bitties. And so once he realized it was on screen for like 8 seconds. If you look on social media, bro, you'll find it. It was pretty funny. Angel Leia said, "What do you think about Polygon?" I am torn on Polygon. I'm very, very torn on Polygon. They've been around for a while. Their big selling point, and here, I'll talk through a chart, right? You guys like trading. That's why you're here. I like to keep that in mind. I mean, just here's the thing with crypto, guys, right? They all move in tandem. Every chart I've shown you, what have I pointed out to you? Every single chart I've shown you, I pointed you out a bear flag. It is what it is. So you can always go to the higher time frames. You can even go to like the minute time frames, but unless you're like 50x leveraging, you're really not going to make money. But from a price action standpoint, we're at a pretty important level here for Polygon, right? And this is, we don't have as much data because of, let's scoop up Matic. Just like with Sonic, how Sonic rebranded to, or Phantom rebranded to Sonic. And when you pull up the Sonic chart, you don't see as much data. Same thing with Matic. I mean, it's just an ugly chart, right? I mean, do you look at this chart and get excited? Right? Lower highs, right? Lower lows. Now, this could be a potential setup for a, I don't know. Let me zoom in here. Let's see if we can make some magic out of this one. I mean, kind of. You can call this a deviation, and you can slap on like I guess you can do this and say this thing looks like what BitTensor looked like. Let's plot BitTensor over here, and let's compare the two patterns here. Let's see if they look alike. Okay. So this is on the week. That's on the week. I want to go to the daily. Okay. Daily. Right? I mean, can you argue that Polygon kind of looks like what BitTensor, and then BitTensor actually already broke out, right? It kind of looks the same. We got a big move to the downside, and I'll shrink this down so they kind of look more even, and I'll shrink this up, right? We had a large spill off from Polygon going all the way back to December of 21. It drew down around 84%. And to be fair, that was a bear market, right? What did BitTensor do? BitTensor drew down 40%, grinded higher, and then kind of entered into this falling wedge, right? So you're seeing the same thing with Polygon. So could we see a breakout from Polygon like we're seeing here with BitTensor? Absolutely, we can. It's not a dead project by any means. Do I see it outperforming ETH? Do I see it outperforming BitTensor? Do I see it outperforming Solana? Do I see it outperforming, Near? Maybe. Polygon maybe outpaces Near. Definitely doesn't outpace Tau. Maybe I'm 50-50 on whether it outpaces ETH, but this is just my personal opinion. I think that Polygon went in too many different ways. Okay. You know the old saying, it's better to be a master of one trade than a jack of all, right? So Polygon, right? Their initial sticking point, their selling point was, we're in ETH layer 2. Ethereum is the most decentralized, the safest. It's got the most liquidity. It's got the most, foundation members. It's got the most developers, scientists, but it's just not scalable. We're Polygon coming in a, knight in shining armor. We're going to scale ETH. Beautiful. We like to hear that. Oh my God. This is so necessary. Let me see the price of Matic run freaking 1,000% in the last bull market. Great. Then they started going into the ag layer and the ZK, and we're doing gaming and we're doing NFTs. And now we're also our own layer 1, but we're still a layer 2. So for me personally, it kind of muddied the waters as far as a selling point. Like I can sell you BitTensor in one sentence. I can say I am bullish on BitTensor because it leverages machine learning and it rewards AI algorithms for giving quality information in the Tau token. What's my selling point for Polygon? Polygon, is founded by a great team. They started off as an Ethereum layer 2 scaling solutions, but they've gone to be so much more. They actually have their own layer 1 where it's got its own Pol token. It just rebranded also. And then you got the ZK thing, and they're kind of good on NFTs, but like token swaps, it's just, I don't know. But chart wise, if we see a run up back to that 59-cent level and we see a breakout, this one I would expect to see a retest, unless we see a big piece of news coming out of the Polygon camp and the Polygon team. Also, you kind of had this head and shoulders pattern play out within this, right? You got your shoulder, head, your shoulder, and this thing broke to the downside. But for me, Polygon, I have Polygon, right? I was a super big Polygon bull. I have some in my portfolio. I just haven't added and actually moved it from my long-term to my middle bucket in my investment, from my long-term to my cycle-to-cycle bucket. And so, but it's not a dead project by any means. I hope that kind of answers your question. Again, this is my personal opinion. I could be completely wrong. I could be completely right. I don't know. All right. We got some gifted memberships here. Shout out to you, French Toaster, gifting 5 memberships. Also, Pet Brett. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. 5 memberships gifted to you from you as well. Hey, you can give yourself gifts now. Yeah, you can. That stolen ETH is as good as burnt. You know what? Yeah, Pet. I was actually a jack of all trades, a master of none is oftentimes better than a master of one. Jack of all trades and a master of none is often better than a master of one. Okay, that's fair. That's how the quote goes. What was I saying? Oh, the stolen ETH. Yeah, I kind of opened the show talking about the Ethereum Foundation wants to roll back the ETH chain. and burn that ETH that was stolen. That would be convenient, right? But I don't know what people feel about that. Where's the volume? Yeah. Where's the volume? It's gone. I'm assuming you're talking about Polygon, right? There's really no volume, right? But again, great team. And sorry, I don't have the chart up here. Great team. It's just, I don't know. I'm torn on Polygon. I plan on selling my entire position unless something fundamentally changes. And I moved it out of my long-term to my short-term bucket. All right, guys, that'll do it for the show today. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. We appreciate you. This is something that we're going to be doing every single weekday. But I want to note, there will be some times where I stream on a Saturday and a Sunday in addition to the weekdays. And so just want to make sure that all of our community members are up to date on everything they need to know to make money in crypto. And so thank you guys again. And I hope you have an amazing weekend. And if you're a Patreon member, thank you so much. We have a new post, a walkthrough on how to multiply your BitTensor position. If you're not part of the Patreon, it's $50 a month. I mean, I don't know about you. I got a family of 5. Every time I go to Starbucks, it's $50. And so it's definitely not on the super cheap side, but it's not on some. I've seen some at like $200-300. And so it's something that we want to bring value to you guys. So shout out to all of you. I love you guys. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you guys Monday. Peace.